So everyone has off days. Today might very well be that day for you. Whether it is or not, the true goal is to get back on track as quickly as possible. The problem is, most people will either push right through it or they give themselves grace, but that one bad day quickly turns into a very bad week, which leads to an even worse month. Neither of those strategies have ever helped me. Being a former police officer of 20 years, suffering through an autoimmune disease called Crohn's disease, creating and running my own online life coaching school, and trying to be an intentional parent and spouse, I can't have many off days, because if I do, I'll be right back where I actually started. Now that is not something that I want for myself or for my goals, and it's definitely something that I don't want for you, which is why I wanted to share my unusual strategies for dealing with those off days. Now the mistakes that most people make during their off days is they try and force things, which inevitably gets them to show up on a level that they really don't want to show up on. Many times I've found that I've had to go back and do that thing over again because I did such a poor job with it. But the other end of the spectrum, where you give yourself some grace and that day turns into weeks and then months, is also not where we want to live. The best place I found is somewhere in the middle. But we have to lean into these 3 unusual strategies to get there. Trust me, these are going to feel a little weird, but they 100% work. Just be sure to lean in and listen to every single one of these points and find which one you're missing so you can quickly get through that off day. Step number 1 is stop being so hard on yourself, but set a deadline. Whether it's a physical or mental block that is creating this day for you, it is never helpful to shame or guilt yourself into taking action. I've forced myself to take action more times than I'd like to admit. And I have to say that whenever I do that, not only does it take me longer to recover and get back to my normal form, but most of the time my end product is terrible and I have to redo it anyway. Instead, I give myself a little grace with a time limit on it. Now this doesn't mean I give myself 6 months, but it also doesn't mean that I give myself 30 minutes. Depending on the specific situation, once that time frame is up, it's go time. Now the intricacy is, how long should you give yourself? This is the advice I like to give. If you were to ask a personal friend or a family member, someone that you really deeply care for and you really value their opinion, how long would they say to give you grace? Just make sure it's somebody who has goals that are similar to yours. I'm not talking about asking your mom. It's somebody who's going to hold you to higher expectations, but at the same time, they care for you as a person. Now, once you give yourself grace and set that deadline, we move on to step number 2, and that is to focus on the mindset, not on the actions. Let me ask you a few questions. Who needs you to get through this day and show up on your A game tomorrow? Who or what are you fighting for? Is it the hard times that proves you're a leader, or is it the easy ones? Now, these are all questions that will get you to dive into your purpose. They'll get you to reframe your mindset to create the level of energy that you need to show up when it's game time. Remember, the first round is over, but there's still 9 rounds left. Before we jump into step number 3, if you're enjoying this video, and you can feel the change in your energy, tap the like button. Step number 3 is find the tactics that fuel you to get after it. Now, we all have things that personally give us energy. Some people love listening to music. Some people love reading personal development. Some people love watching motivational videos. Even more people love exercise, plugging into a supportive and powerful community, or even diving into some great podcasts. Now, I don't want you to think that you have to do what everybody else has done. I really want you to find what your sweet spot is. What is it that gives you energy that will help you show up on an entirely different level? So find what has worked for you in the past and lean in. Now you might get to this point and be wondering, what if you find that this is more of a physical manifestation than a mental one? Those strategies are a little bit different than the ones we tackled today, but don't worry, I got you covered. Tap this screen for the next video where I shared how a police officer overcame an autoimmune disease. No matter what your version of physical hard is right now, that next video will help you out. Thank you very much for being here, leader, and keep leading from the front. Bye, everybody.